Hi everyone, my name is Emily Teacher, and today we're reading The Triangle Fire. 100 years ago, American industry was growing fast and needed workers badly. It found them in the millions of immigrants who poured into the United States from Europe. Most passed through Ellis Island in New York Harbor with little money and few possessions. Many went no farther than New York City in search for jobs. Young women found employment in the overcrowded, unsanitary, and unsafe factories of the city garments district. In these sweatshops, they worked long hours for low wages. Fire inspections were lax, and fire equipment was inadequate. It was inevitable that tragedy would strike sooner or later. So, 100 years ago, this American industry was growing and growing, and more people were coming into the United States from other countries to live and to work. And so most of them would go to New York City to find a job. Now, there was a lot of young women looking for jobs. So they would go to the city's garment district where they made clothes. Often these places had too many people, they were not clean, they were not safe, and there was really no fire inspection safety. So let's find out about a tragedy that did strike. On Saturday, March 25th, 1911, the top three floors of a 10-story building on New York's Lower East Side were crowded with women working for the Triangle Shirtwaist Company. Late in the afternoon, a bin containing waste fabric on the 8th floor began to smolder. No one noticed until it suddenly burst into flames. Women in the crowded workroom tried frantically to put out the rapidly spreading fire, but their efforts were in vain. Acrid smoke filled the room. Many of the women, coughing, choking, and unable to see where they were going, were trampled in the headlong rush for the only unlocked door in the workroom. The owners of the company always kept the other doors locked to prevent women from slipping outside into the hallway for a break when they were supposed to be working. So it's a very tall building at the time, right? 10 stories. So stories 8, 9, and 10 were in danger. Right? There was a bin of fabric that all of a sudden caught on fire. So there was a lot of smoke going around the room. People couldn't breathe properly. They were coughing and choking and couldn't see either. So many of them were trampled, right? They were walked on top of by other people panicking to go to the one door that led outside. The other doors, there would have been more exits, but the owners of the company didn't want the girls taking breaks often, so they would lock those other doors so they couldn't go out them. Very, very unsafe. Those who fled into the heavily congested hallway found that just one elevator was working. Only 12 women were able to use it. The fire escape collapsed under the weight of people crowding onto it. The narrow stairway, less than 3 feet wide, impeded the movement of the women, leaving many trapped. More than 40 women jumped from windows and hurtled to their deaths, 85 feet below. Others flung themselves down the elevator shaft in desperate attempts to escape. Firefighters at the scene were unable to cope with the situation. Water from their hoses failed to reach the flames because the pressure was too low. Their ladders reached only to the 6th floor. So, a very, very tragic setup here. The hallway was only one way out. It was crowded with women. So people were getting stepped on, they were getting trapped, they couldn't move. Other people panicked, they jumped out the window or jumped down the elevator shaft, and it was too high up, so they would have died when they hit the ground. And unfortunately for the firefighters, their hose wasn't strong enough and their ladders were not tall enough, so they couldn't get to the women who needed help. A throng estimated at over 100,000 people attended the mass funeral of the victims of the fire. Incredible as it sounds, an official inquiry later found that the Triangle Shirtwaist Company had not been guilty of negligence. Irate citizens demanded that such a tragedy never be allowed to happen again. As a result of the fire, new safety measures were initiated. Laws dealing with building safety were made more stringent, and firefighting equipment and methods were improved. But the changes came too late for the unfortunate 145 women who were casualties of New York's Triangle Fire. So, thousands of people showed up for the funeral of all these women who had died. The company that was very unsafe and caused the fire was found that they were not guilty, right? The court said it was not their fault. So the citizens were very upset about this. They didn't like it. So they wanted it to never happen again. Because of this tragedy, there were some good things that came, right? There were new safety measures, more building safety measures, firefighting equipment was improved. And so good things for the future, but unfortunately too late to help the women who were in that building. Thank you for reading with me today. We do have links related to each article, and if you want the link for this story, you can find it down in the description below.